one of the essential sounds of Delta blues, and one of my favorite sounds of blues in general, is this lick that's often called the train whistle lick. There are a lot of variations on it. I first ran into it in the sound of sort of second generation blues revival people like Stephen Grossman and Dave Van Ronk when I started trying to figure out their stuff. But of course it goes back to the original pre-war people like Charlie Patton and folks like that. So in today's lesson, I want to just show you not just what the train whistle lick is, but the sound that it's based on, which is this super important idea that there's this note that exists in between the flat third and the major third. And if you can figure out how to get to it, you kind of crack the code of what that whole thing is supposed to sound like. Now, the tune I played on the way in to demonstrate this sound is a Charlie Patton song called Pony Blues. And I'll be teaching a complete arrangement of Pony Blues this fall inside my membership, the Fingerstyle 5. But if you'd like to get your hands on some blues tab before then, go to the link below or the link on screen to download my tab for the 5 8-bar blues you should know. Once you've done that, let's check out how to get the sound of the train whistle lick. Now there's 3 things you need to know to make the train whistle lick happen. First, you need to know how to do something called a quarter tone bend, which is where you take the flat third and bend it towards the major third, but never quite get there. And after that, you need to pair that note with a note on the high string, making a double stop where you only bend the note on the second string and hold the note on the high string steady. And finally, you need to put that in context by learning how to play it over a steady bass. So we're going to go through those 3 steps here in this lesson. All right, so this sound is what makes a blue note sound like a blue note. Just sitting and playing the flat third is okay, but it's the sound of that note getting goosed towards the major third without actually getting there that really matters. And so it works as a single note move down here in the open position, and it works up here playing on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And if you want to know what makes it different from some of the, like a full half step bend, say, if you bend this note all the way to the sound of the major third, it just doesn't sound the same. It's the sound of going towards the note. And one way you can make that sound is to start the bend and then cut it off over here with the right hand by resting your finger on the string, and that will cut it off on its way up. So because you don't want the sound of the note bending up and then getting unbent, because to make the note sound more than once, you have to come back to the starting point where it's not bent. And if you don't cut the note off, then you get going up and down, and that's kind of not the thing that you want. So you bend up and you cut it off with the right hand. And as far as bending itself, there's different schools of thoughts about it, but for this particular bend, I recommend pushing upward. So not in terms of pitch, but in terms of gravity, like pushing this direction as opposed to pulling down towards the floor, which is more what you do for like a B.B. King style vibrato. So going up and cutting it off, and a couple other little pointers about bending, one of which is you can have your index finger down here to help push, to kind of help reinforce the pushing that you're doing with the middle finger. And the other thing is you can kind of scoot your fingernail underneath the next string so that you're not pushing into the 3rd string, which can kind of, sort of give you more resistance. But you're kind of sneaking under the string and there's a little less to push against. Okay, the next most important thing is to include this bend as part of a double stop. So we're going to have middle finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, index finger on the high string, and you're going to pick both of those notes. Now you might pick them with index and middle, you might pick them with middle and ring, you might brush up with your index finger. All of those will work. They all give a different kind of sound. Well, index and middle and ring are kind of the same sound, but the brushing is definitely a distinctive kind of thing. And the other thing that's kind of important about this is that you're bending the note on the 2nd string, but you're holding the high string steady. So the whole thing isn't going up, right? Because you don't want this. That's going to sound a little weird. You want to hold this note steady. This is kind of your anchor, and it actually gives you something else to hold on to and kind of brace against as you do the bend. So you want this note to stay constant while this note is getting bent against it. And again, resting your fingers on the strings each time you do it, which helps prevent the sound of the note getting unbent again afterwards. And if you're going to brush, you just have to do it really quickly so that you don't hear that reverse bend so much. And finally, you want to be able to do this sound over a steady bass. And it's also not a bad idea to be able to move between open position licks and the train whistle lick. So the simplest thing you can do is just play it on the downbeat with the thumb as a pinch. And then once you can play it on all 4 beats like that, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then you can try playing on the ands as well. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you're doing sort of a longer one and then a shorter one, if it's with a shuffle feel. If it's with more of a straight feel like Pony Blues, then they're going to be kind of the same length. But when you can do the bend with the thumb on the 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the ands, then you can try going between a lick in open position and the train whistle lick. And you can also try putting an open string in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that you're lifting your hands off for an open string and then coming back in. And then maybe coming down here. So all in all, a good exercise would be something like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, but this main thing of being able to go that kind of includes all the little pieces and bits of coordination you need to start to integrate that lick into your playing. And of course, there are other variations, my favorite of which is to include the 6th on top instead of the 5th. And also breaking it up so it's not necessarily a double stop. So that you get that sound. 6th, and then the flat 3rd, and then the open high string for the root. And then, of course, playing the 6th and the flat 3rd bent as a double stop. And the same rule applies where this note is being held steady, not bending, and this one is being bent. So your pinky is kind of holding on while you bend with the middle finger, which is also a really cool sound. Okay, so that's the idea. Again, I'll be teaching a complete arrangement of Pony Blues coming up in October inside my Fingerstyle 5 membership. You can learn more about that at fretboardconfidential.com. And to download the 5 8-bar blues you should know, check out the link below or the link on screen and get your hands on that PDF with all the tab for those 5 tunes. And of course, if you've got a question or a comment about today's lesson, please leave it for me down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.